They're going to call it a hard foul? These guys are ridiculous.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 times sports announcers lost it on TV.
Oh, and by the way, to all the guys that I didn't mention, it's because you don't even warrant to mention, and that includes you too, Wonder Boy.
For this list, we'll be looking at the funniest and most shocking instances of sports announcers losing their temper. Which of these do you find the most entertaining? Let us know in the comments below. Number 10. Nuts and bolts, we got screwed. It's not just the professionals who get riled up. This footage depicts a high school football game between the Rockland Bulldogs and Abington Green Wave. 3 minutes remained in the game with the Green Wave up 12-7. The Green Wave picked up a missed pass and carried it for a touchdown, but the referee called it an incomplete pass. It was the wrong call, and the announcers lost their collective minds.
Oh, wait a minute, he's saying it's an incomplete pass. There's no way that's incomplete. Absolutely not. That's a backwards pass by 5.
One heatedly explains the rule while the other just screams himself hoarse. Perhaps the best part is the use of
nuts and bolts, we got screwed.
To make matters even worse, the Bulldogs would go on to win the game 21-12, scoring 2 touchdowns after their possession was allowed to continue.
That's a backwards pass. It's a live ball. That's a touchdown taken off the board against the Green Wave.
Number 9. Chris Berman goes on a rant.
Can't everybody stop for 10 minutes?
A legendary sportscaster, Chris Berman has enjoyed a long and illustrious career at ESPN, with a particular focus on football. He has hosted the likes of SportsCenter, NFL Primetime, and Sunday NFL Countdown, and has helped turn ESPN into the household name that it is today. But even the pros lose their cool every once in a while.
I mean, it's not that much to ask. Is that when everybody has to move when I'm trying to concentrate? Jesus.
This footage was captured back in 2000 during a taping of Monday Night Football. It sees Berman going off on the crew for over a minute, criticizing their movements and supposedly unprofessional behavior.
I actually can't believe what I just saw.
Not now.
It's like no one here has worked on TV before.
Berman's frustration gets the best of him, and it's not a good look. Number 8. Stupid. It's always great when announcers drop all courtesy and let their true feelings fly. That's what happened during this NBA game between the Boston Celtics and New York Knicks. Celtics player Kevin Garnett picked up a technical foul and laughed about the unjust infraction. Unfortunately, this act of defiance got him ejected from the game. Announcer Tommy Heinsohn, who had been with the Celtics organization since the late 60s, was not happy about the call.
This is stupid.
Twice he called the referee's decision stupid, and each one was pronounced with loud gusto and anger. The passion in his voice is clear, and yes, it's very, very funny.
This is absolutely NBA. It's stupid.
Number 7. Tommy Heinsohn goes off again. We return to the Boston Celtics and Tommy Heinsohn for another world-class meltdown. This incident took place a few years earlier during a game between the Celtics and Phoenix Suns. The drama begins when Celtics player Paul Pierce takes a hard hit and falls to the ground. No foul is called, and Heinsohn repeatedly calls it ridiculous.
This is absolutely ridiculous. Jim O'Brien.
And then it got even worse. The calls got more and more ludicrous, including a case of traveling that was not penalized.
Give me a break. This is hand-checking now they're going to call? This Kenny Mauer should go home to his wife, because nobody here loves him.
And Heinsohn got more and more incensed. After the game, Heinsohn called the officials smug and awful, and claimed that it was the worst called game of the year.
Worst game I've seen officiated all year, and you know what they said to me? It's in a very smug fashion, Merry Christmas. You know, and that's how smug these guys can be. You know, they're awful.
Number 6. Network stooge. Unless it's absolutely hilarious, most people can't stand it when there's interference in the middle of a sports game, especially sportscaster Howie Rose. Rose is prominent in New York sports and works as a radio broadcaster for MLB's New York Mets. The Mets were in Los Angeles to play the Dodgers when a so-called network stooge interfered with the start of the game. ESPN was airing a feature on Dodgers player Justin Turner, prompting a very angry and passive-aggressive response from Rose.
And they'll go for the season series sweep tonight just as soon as the network stooge down there says that it's okay to play baseball.
And while Rose goes off, images are shown of players on the field waiting impatiently for the network stooge to give the okay. They couldn't wait to begin either.
And only now do we get the okay, and so we're going to have a baseball game here tonight about 7 hours later than we should have.
Number 5. Johnny most hates the Pistons.
They have been called a dirty ball club, and I can see why. This is a typical disgusting display.
We return to our old friends, the Boston Celtics, yet again. only this time we're focusing on radio broadcaster Johnny Most. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, the Detroit Pistons enacted a very physical style of play, and they became known around town as the Bad Boys. Most got riled up during one game between the Pistons and Celtics, singling out Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer, and Isaiah Thomas for their aggressive gameplay.
It was Dennis Rodman, and he sneers. He didn't do it because he's a good boy.
Included in the rant were the words unnecessary, disgusting, yellow, and gutless. So suffice to say, Most was not impressed with how the Pistons were playing basketball.
I wouldn't be like them for all the money in the world.
Number 4. Ken Harrelson censors himself.
What are you doing, Wagner?
Swearing is obviously not allowed on primetime television, so announcers have a professional obligation to refrain. But evidently, it can be very difficult.
That just tells you he asked Blue. Here's an umpire in the American League knows nothing about the game of baseball.
During this MLB game between the Chicago White Sox and Tampa Bay Rays, Sox pitcher Jose Quintana nearly hit Ben Zobrist in the leg. A White Sox batter had been hit earlier in the game, so the umpire believed that Quintana was aiming for Zobrist as a form of retaliation.
They had got to do something about this, I'll tell you. They got some guys in this league that have no business umpiring.
He was instantly ejected from the game, prompting this legendary meltdown from White Sox broadcaster Ken Harrelson.
Oh, what are you doing? He threw him out of the ballgame. You gotta be beeping me.
Harrelson censors himself with a hilarious use of the word beeping before going off on the umpire. Now that's how you stay both memorable and professional. Number 3. Dan Marino punches the table. Dan Marino is a legendary quarterback, having played for the Miami Dolphins between 1983 and 1999. Following his retirement, Marino started work as a studio analyst on HBO's Inside the NFL. During one episode, Marino begins talking about Terrell Buckley when he stumbles over his words. This mistake prompts a fierce reaction in Marino as he contorts his face in anger and repeatedly slams his fist into the table.
Playing golf, he told me that defense is
What follows are a few giggles, one scared Jesus, and a prolonged awkward silence. The man is clearly a perfectionist, and one rare blunder made for television gold. Number 2. Alexi Lalas's rant.
And so to the supposed leaders, I will say this.
Alexi Lalas is a retired soccer player who found success in the 1990s. Years later, working as an analyst, Lalas gave his take on the men's national team as they attempted to qualify for the 2017 World Cup. And he was not happy with what he saw.
You lost at home to Costa Rica. This is now all on you, not Jurgen.
During a game between the Seattle Sounders and Los Angeles Galaxy, Lalas personally addressed various members of the team and told them to play better. He concludes the rant by calling them
soft, underperforming, tattooed millionaires?
And his co-host can only look on with a suppressed smile. We aren't on TV, so we can laugh as loudly and as hard as we want. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1. Teddy Atlas is done with boxing. A prominent trainer and commentator, Teddy Atlas knows a thing or two about professional boxing. So alarm bells start ringing when a curious outcome does not match the fight. This battle was between Gennady Golovkin and Canelo Alvarez for the unified middleweight championship. Golovkin outboxed Alvarez, but the fight ended in a controversial split draw. Atlas wasn't having any of it, and he let his emotions go during a post-match interview. He called the entire thing garbage before criticizing the judges and calling them cowards. He also expressed his desire to quit boxing altogether.
I'd get the hell out of it. I'd get the hell out of it. I'm sick and tired of watching these fighters that put everything on the line.
When you've ticked off an announcer so much that he contemplates leaving the sport, you know that something must be amiss.
And this gets done to him by a bunch of cowards at ringside that never took a punch in their life. I'm sick of it.
Did you enjoy this video? Check out these other clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.